This video is a collaboration between my channel and Eastern Roman History, the YouTube channel that covers the expansive history of the Byzantines. Please make sure you check out his video on the Byzantine perspective of the Turkish conquest of Asia Minor. You can find a link to his video in the description below. This video will be an overall summary of the first 4 episodes of my Ottoman Wars video series. So, let's quickly dive in. The predecessors to the Ottomans were a Turkic nomadic clan called the Kayı tribe. Located in Central Asia, the Kayı tribe were among many other Turkic clans in the region living a nomadic lifestyle. Later Ottoman sources state that the Kayı tribe originated from the original 24 tribes of the legendary and mythical Turkic warlord Oğuz Khan, the founder of the Turkic peoples of Asia. It is unclear if this claim is true or false, as it was a common claim that was used by many other Turkic monarchs throughout the Middle Ages to proclaim their legitimacy over their rivals. Whatever the case, from the 9th century up to the 13th, the Kayı tribe continued their existence in Central Asia as a nomadic tribe within first the Seljuk Empire, then the Khwarezmian Empire, before a new threat from the east emerged in the form of the Mongols. The Mongol invasions of Central Asia and Iran resulted in a massive second migration of Turkic peoples into the Middle East and Asia Minor. These events would also result in the Kayı tribe under the leadership of Süleyman Shah to start their migration to the west, thus leaving behind their ancestral homes like many other Turkic tribes in the region. However, during their migration to the west, the leader of the Kayıs would drown in the Euphrates River in northern Syria in 1227, thus leaving the tribe to his son Ertuğrul Gazi. Ertuğrul Gazi would successfully lead his people into Asia Minor shortly after his father's death, and enroll himself and the Kayı tribe to the services of Sultan Alaaddin Keykubat I. Asia Minor during this time period was predominantly ruled by the Sultan of Rum, a surviving remnant of the former Seljuk Empire. Keykubat I ruled his realm from his capital at Konya with the help of various Turkish governors and dozens of separate semi-autonomous chiefdoms, whose leaders were known as Uchbeys. These chiefdoms around the Sultanate supplied warriors called Ghazis, who were Islamic soldiers which prioritized fighting and plundering in non-Muslim lands as a way to gain glory on the battlefield and wealth for themselves. As a way to establish his loyalty to the state, Ertuğrul Gazi would fight alongside with the Selçuks during the Battle of Yeşilçaman against an exiled Khwarezmian Shah, which would see Keykubat give the Kayı tribe a plot of land at Karaca Mountain, near modern-day Ankara, for their services on the battlefield. Now that they had established a home base for themselves, the Kayı tribe would spend the next couple of decades conducting smaller raids into the neighboring Empire of Nicolle, joining the ranks of other Ghazi warbands in the process. It was during these raids that Ertuğrul Gazi would seize the village of Sirt for the Sultan of Rum. Again, for his military services against the Nicaeans, Ertuğrul Gazi would be gifted the villages of Sirt and Domniç by Keykubat I, and thus would be promoted up to Uchbey. These series of victories from the Sultan of Rum would come to an end in 1337 with the death of Keykubat I, as his son Keykhusro II lacked the martial and diplomatic talents of his late father. It was also during this time period that the Mongol war machine had reached to the doorsteps of Asia Minor. Refusing to submit to countless Mongol demands of fealty, Keykhusro II led a joint Muslim-Christian coalition against the Mongols in 1243. However, during the Pusun Battle of Kırşehir, the Mongols would decimate the coalition, thus ending any major resistance to their hegemony in Asia Minor. Most of the Sultan of Rum would be militarily occupied, with Keykhusro II being a puppet ruler to the Mongols. For the rest of the century, central authority from Konya slowly deteriorated as governors and chiefdoms around the Sultanate started acting more independently from the capital. As the Sultan of Rum was going into full decline, the Kayı tribe was slowly settling down in their new village of Sirt, putting aside their nomadic lifestyle in the process. Being located on the western frontiers of the Sultanate of Rum, the Kayis were able to avoid a direct Mongol military presence, which resulted in the tribe being a safe haven for Turks fleeing from the Mongols from Eastern and Central Asia Minor. After almost 5 decades since settling down his people in Surt, Ertuğrul Gazi would die from natural causes. His son, Osman Gazi, would take control of the Kayis during the wake of Ertuğrul's death. By the time of Osman Gazi, the Byzantine Empire had retaken Constantinople from the Latins, and the Mongol Empire had divided into 4 separate states. Meanwhile, the Sultan of Rum continued to be a puppet state to the Mongols, as it was being ripped apart from civil wars and internal disputes. According to Ottoman chronicles, shortly after Osman Gazi became the Bey of the Kayi tribe, the Byzantine governor of Nicolle started seizing Kayi goods from the nearby trading center of Bilecik. These events quickly escalated into open hostilities between the Kayis and the governor of Nicolle in 1284. By 1287, the Kayis had managed to capture their first manned fort at Kuluciyasar and establish a new trading center at Eskişehir. And by 1299, Bilecik, Nicolle, and Yarısaray were also captured. Meanwhile, during all the Kayi conquests, central authority within the Sultanate of Rum was non-existent. Turkish governors and Uchbeys around Asia Minor looked at the Selçuk Sultan at Konya with great disdain, and they were looking at new opportunities to release themselves from Mongol occupation and break their ties with the capital. The opportunity came in 1296 when the Selçuk Sultan was imprisoned by the Mongols due to a failed plot to gain independence. Taking advantage of the void of power left by the Selçuks of Konya, the governors and Uchbeys of the Sultanate began to declare their independence across the peninsula. During a Friday prayer in 1299, Osman Gazi would be among the last to declare his independence from Konya, and by 1308, the Sultanate of Rum was no more. The new Ottoman state was now in charge of its own destiny. By 1301, Nicolle was under a blockade by the Ottomans, which prompted multiple attempts by the Byzantines to relieve the city. During the summer of 1302, the Ottomans would gain their first major victory in a battle during the Battle of Bothius against a relief Byzantine force. The following year, the Ottomans would yet again be victorious during the Battle of Dimbos against the governors of Bursa, Kite, Kestel, Orhanili, and Ulubad, which would see the Ottomans now besieging Bursa. With Asia Minor slipping away from their control, the Byzantines attempted to ally themselves with the Mongols of Iran, but the alliance failed to materialize. The Byzantines would then turn to the famous Catalan Company of Western Europe, but their rampage of Western Asia Minor failed to turn the tides of the war for the Byzantines. By 1320, Bursa would yet again be under siege by Osman Gazi, and the city would fall in 1326. However, Osman Gazi would never see the fall of Bursa, as he would die from natural causes, and sometime between 1324 and 1326, his son Orhan Gazi succeeded him as the Bey of the Ottoman Beylik. Orhan Gazi would continue the conquest of his father, and by 1328 the Ottomans would besiege Nicolle. The following year, a relief force led by the Byzantine Emperor himself would be scattered by Orhan Gazi during the Battle of Peloponnesus, which would seal the fate of Asia Minor. During the aftermath of the battle, the Ottomans roamed freely in the countryside of the region without any opposition. The city of Nicolle would fall in 1331, and Nicomedia would follow suit in 1337. By 1338, all of the lands making up the ancient Roman province of Bithynia would be under Ottoman control. The Ottoman conquest of Bithynia also coincided with the fall of many other Byzantine holdings on the coast of the Aegean Sea by other various Turkish beyliks. With the exception of Philadelphia, the Byzantines were fully pushed out of Asia Minor by the Turkish beyliks of the region. The conquest of Bithynia became the catalyst for the rise of the Ottoman Empire. With every victory against the Byzantines, more and more Ghazi soldiers from Central and Eastern Asia Minor joined the ranks of the Ottoman military. With the opportunity to loot and plunder rich Byzantine estates, and fight in the name of the Islamic Prophet against the infidel, and even to obtain a fief from the Ottoman Timur system, joining the Ottoman army became a lucrative deal for these Turkish soldiers. The major churches of the conquered cities were converted into mosques, and Turkish families of the Ottoman soldiers were given permission to settle down in these regions. Although the Conquest of Bithynia did create a refugee crisis of Greeks fleeing to the Balkans, it is also important to remember that the Ottoman Beylik was still an Islamic state ruling over a majority Christian region, and this would affect Ottoman social, economic, and military policies for centuries to come. With Orhan Gazi capturing such major cities as Bursa, Nicolle, and Nicomedia, the Ottoman Beylik had secured themselves a launching point for future military operations against their neighbors who were weakened by civil wars. Thank you for watching, and please remember to check out Eastern Roman History's video on the Byzantine perspective of the loss of Asia Minor. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to both of our channels, and I'll see you on the next one.